So I think that the Dallas Mavericks are getting a little bit desperate to find someone to pair with Luka Doncic. And so I think that they're going to go all in on a big trade. And if not, I'm going to say that it's going to be before this trade deadline.
I think you're about to get tossed, Riley.
They came together in this. Okay.
I think you're right. I think that they will try, but they will fail. You said it exactly why. Dallas has no desirable young players. They don't have desirable older players outside of Luka. They do not have the pieces required to, in my opinion, to get a star next to Luka.
Welcome everybody to Two Quick Teas.
Welcome everybody to Two Quick Teas. Leave a like, hit subscribe, and comment, please.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Quick Teas. This is the game we like to play where we throw people out if they have bad opinions. Everybody gets a vote, and if you choose to give somebody a T and you get 2 Ts, you're gone, and you get to sit the rest of the show out. This week's topic is the NBA trade deadline, which is quickly approaching on the 9th of February. We're all going to have a point about the trade deadline, and if our compadres don't agree with it, they can give us a T. If we get 2, we're gone.
You're out, muchacho.
Whack, get out.
Talk to me, Steve.
Get away from me, Steve. Don't talk to me, Steve.
So I'll start us off with the takes here. And I'm going to start out by saying that, as always, somehow, someway, the Los Angeles Lakers will get bailed out of their current crappy situation by trading Russell Westbrook and their 2 first-round picks for a player that I don't know who it is right now. But they're going to get bailed out somehow because that's always how the NBA works. The Lakers, just like they picked up Rui last week for spare parts, somehow they're going to get
Washington?
out of Westbrook and they're going to get a good player.
Can we just put a moratorium on Lakers trades, period? Just everyone
They don't
in the
have
league,
anything to offer.
all the GMs just need to collude. I don't care. They need to get together, conspire, and figure out a way to stop giving the Lakers whatever they want whenever they want it. Because Westbrook is not going to help anybody ever. And yet I think you're probably right that they're going to trade him for a piece that's going to transform their team. I hope not, but I think you might be right.
I'm going to give you a T because I refuse to believe it. They don't have anything to offer. They're not going to get bailed out this time. They might have a good run this year if they can stay healthy, but that's not going to happen either. They're a bunch of Data Davises and street clothes on the roster. Yeah, I don't think they have much to offer any team, especially to get a superstar. I mean, I don't really see what value Westbrook is bringing any team because it's not like they can rebuild around him. Obviously, he's a veteran guy, but they're also not going to really be able to tank with him either because he's a guy who does just enough to get you to the 10th or 9th seed, averaging his triple-double or whatever, but nothing better than that, nothing worse than that. So, no, it's not going to happen. They're not getting DeMar DeRozan. They're not getting Bradley Beal. They're stuck with Troy Brown and Thomas Bryant, and that's just what the Lakers got. That's just what they're going to have to deal with.
Devil's advocate. Westbrook is an expiring contract, a huge one, a huge contract. It's in the 40 millions. And
Shut
they
up,
have 2 first, and
Shut
they have
up.
2. Then they have 2 first-round picks. Somebody's going to bail them out.
If they freaking get Bradley Beal or some, oh my God, I'm gonna be so annoyed. Washington, stop giving away your players to LA. I'm begging you.
Isn't Westbrook from Washington, D.C.?
He played there a few seasons ago. I think he's from LA.
He's from LA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe Washington, D.C. Maybe he still owns a house there. It'll be perfect.
Durant's from Washington. That might have been what you were thinking of.
Probably.
Because those two don't have anything in common.
No, not at all.
My first take of the day is talking about the Blazers trading Damian Lillard. And my take is it's not going to happen. No way in hell it's going to happen. I watched a video from a YouTube channel called Sporting Logically. Shout out Sporting Logically. I'm about to roast your video.
Sounds like illogically already to me.
He talked about how the Blazers need to trade Dame. They have to for both the franchise and for him, that he's, wallowing here, all the same old garbage we hear from everyone who doesn't live in Oregon, basically watching Dame play here. And he said that while it has to happen, he listed out 4 realistic trades. I think the video is called the Blazers are trading Damian Lillard, realistic trades for him. And every single trade made 0 sense, and he even admitted it in his video. The first trade had him going to the Mavericks, which he said if he could snap his fingers and make it happen, this is what he would do. He would have Damian go to the Mavericks. And in return, we'd get Dinwiddie, Christian Wood, Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, and 3 first-round picks, so 2028, 2026, and 2024. And obviously there's not the return there. Dinwiddie is not going to – he's, again, one of those players, it's like we probably have to waive him if we were going to get him. And 3 first-round picks from Dallas is just not enough to move the needle. The second trade he had listed was Damian Lillard, Yusuf Nurkic, and Gary Payton for Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Cameron Johnson, and 4 first-round picks, which that doesn't make any sense for either team. If you're trading Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton for Damian Lillard and Nurkic, neither team's going to get better. They're basically going to stay the same. I mean, it's like swapping a team for a team. Obviously, it's already happening somewhere else in the country. It doesn't. Again, the picks not super valuable if they're on a Phoenix team with Damian Lillard and Devin Booker. The third trade was Damian Lillard straight across for Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks to the Lakers, which I know has been the Lakers fans' wet dream for a couple of years now. It ain't happening. The Blazers aren't taking Russell Westbrook. He may be an expiring contract, but he's not gonna. We're not gonna be able to tank with him. He's gonna do like just enough to keep our team away from getting any number 1 picks, but not enough to make the playoffs. And 2 first-round picks from LA, not doing much for us. And then the trade where
can we all just take a moment to tee up that take?
The last trade was the one where the Blazers probably get the most back, but still doesn't really make much sense. It's a 3-team deal where the Knicks would get Corey Joseph and Damian Lillard. The Blazers would get Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, and like 6 first-round picks, 2023 from Detroit, 2023 from New York, 2028 from New York, 23 from Washington, 26 from New York, 23 from Dallas. And the Pistons would get Derrick Rose and 2 second-round picks. So you'd get more of a kind of a rebuilding haul for that. You get a young guy and RJ Barrett. But basically at the end of the video, he makes the point that it's really hard to trade Damian Lillard with his contract, and that neither the franchise or Damian Lillard want to be traded, and none of these deals would make sense for the Blazers. And yet he insists that it's the best thing for the Blazers and for Damian Lillard to trade him. I just don't think there's any route where that makes any sense. It's just not going to happen at this stage of his career, I don't think. Maybe, situations could change at the beginning of, within the next couple of years. But right now, it seems like the Blazers and Damian Lillard are stuck with each other, and I'm not mad about that marriage.
That's the way that they wanted it. I mean, he committed to us long-term, and the Blazers committed right back. They gave him a contract that's basically unmovable. He's not interested in moving. Stop trying to make it happen, people.
Yeah.
Like, he's our superstar player. You only get a couple of these in your lifetime.
So some of the top comments on this
work.
video, which I appreciated. Dame's never going to leave. He settled down in Portland, has a family, no incentive for him to leave besides winning. Someone else said, not only does Dame want to stay in Portland, other teams don't have good enough offers to trade for him. Someone else said that compared him to KG, and how KG said he wished he would have left the Timberwolves sooner. But, and yeah, it's just not only has Damian Lillard, repeatedly said he wants to stay in Portland, and the franchise has done everything to keep him. Now it doesn't make financial sense, for there to be any trade. And yet fans are still out there pining for it. Just Lakers fans and a bunch of people out there saying, he needs to get out of there. He's wasting away in Portland. It's like, get
He's
over
doing
it,
fine.
people. Get
Yeah.
over it.
I don't think I need to say anything else other than no. It's not going to happen at this trade deadline. So I'm not going to tee you up, Kirby.
Appreciate it.
So my first take is something that I've said before on this podcast. I don't think that the relationship between DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns is healable. I think that wound has only continued to fester through the first part of this season, and I think that Ayton's out. I don't know where he's going to end up going. You can see our other video for possibility. But I do think that the Suns are heading toward a pretty big makeover because they are sliding pretty bad this year. They don't look good when they play. I mean, they've had injury problems, big injury problems. Chris Paul is a shell of his former self. And DeAndre Ayton doesn't really like playing for his coach or for the team, it doesn't seem like. And I mean, you can say that those are excuses, but really they're reasons. I mean, this is why the team isn't playing well, and you have to fix some of it, in order to start playing better. Chris Paul's probably not going to get better. The injuries might clear up, but someone else is just going to get hurt. Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the NBA. And so, yeah, it's time for them to move on from Ayton and probably some other pieces too. And I think we'll see a big trade from Phoenix.
I'm not going to tee you up, but it's a kind of almost a tee only because I'm not positive he'll move at the trade deadline. I do think he's moving, and I think it's going to be soon. I just think it could happen this trade deadline, but it might happen in the offseason. I'm not going to tee you up for it because I think it's a good take, but it might not be right this second where he moves.
I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't think he's coming to Portland. I've already made that abundantly clear, but it depends on what's offered for him. Phoenix, I think they're kind of in a win now mode. I think that any, trading Ayton is going to be a step back. They're not going to get better by trading him. I just don't see any packages out there where it really happened. Maybe there'd be something that I'm just not seeing, but it feels to me like they're kind of stuck with him until they, make a decision to really blow up the team. And I think it kind of hinges on Chris Paul. It seems like if he was going to be moved too, then I could see them also parting ways with Ayton and trying a fresh rebuild around Devin Booker. But as long as they're kind of in that win now mode, it's obviously they're not having as good of a regular season as they've had in years past, but they've also learned the harsh lesson the last few years that regular season success doesn't really matter all that much. And what really matters is playoff, how well they play in the playoffs. So if they can make the playoffs, they know they have as good a shot as anyone. They made the finals a couple of years ago. And if everyone's healthy, they're going to be, a threat. I don't really see them getting past Luka or Denver or Golden State, but I can't really imagine them blowing it up at this stage this season right now. So teed up.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable point. Kirby, you make some sense there. I think like I said, I'm not going to tee you up, but moving on, I think that kind of we've skirted around this and mentioned it, but my other take is if you look at the standings in the West, every team down to number 13 in the West is in the playoff hunt. Very much so.
What a crazy season.
2.5 games separate like the entire through the 4th seed almost. Like
yeah.
13 through 4, like home court in the playoffs. So
pretty exciting.
I think it's very exciting. And I think that it's not really going to be a like buyer's paradise as far as the West teams go. I don't know how many West teams are going to be selling their players off because they're all in the hunt. They're all in the hunt. I mean, there might be a couple of teams, but I think that most of the action is going to come from trades with the Eastern Conference bottom dwellers, namely Toronto. I think Toronto will be the hot spot, and depending on what happens with Toronto, that could send shockwaves. But I think that the big name players are really only going to come out of that team specifically, Toronto. Whether it's Siakam and somebody makes a big play, or it's OG and somebody trades for him, or Fred VanVleet. I think that those are the biggest names you're going to see traded in the offseason, and that the West teams are really just going to try and get those players, and that's like the biggest names you're going to see.
I'm gonna tee you up for one reason only. I think Ayton's gone, and that would be a big move too. I think you're right though that Toronto is going to be a player here at the trade deadline, and not a whole lot of other teams will be, because they're all in the chase, which is very exciting. I just think the Suns are fractured and might also be a potential well for finding players to take.
Yeah, it's good for the league what's happening in the Western Conference right now. There's so many markets that are invested in their teams right now. And I'm not going to tee you up, even though I'm about to make the opposite point as you, but I still don't think it's that ridiculous of a take. I could see really either way this going. But my take is that there's going to be a few teams that are kind of within that 13 team hunt that just don't see the value of, scraping by into the play-in, and that would rather go after Wembanyama, the big dude from France. I could see teams like OKC, Utah, maybe even depending, again, health might play a factor here. So if a team, if like Luka gets hurt or something like that, I could see Dallas making a couple trades, trading, kind of their supporting cast. And even though I just teed up Riley for saying Ayton could be gone, Phoenix isn't the first team that I'm looking at that's gonna tank, because like I said, I think they're kind of more in win now mode. But it could happen. I think there's a couple teams in the West. I don't think it's going to be a 13 team race for the whole season. I think that a few will probably drop out and join the Spurs and the Rockets in the Wembanyama sweepstakes for the Western Conference.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And honestly, if Portland was in dire straits and hadn't won 4 out of their last 5, I would say Portland should be doing that right now.
Yeah,
and
that's another.
I still don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that, if they kind of keep free falling, they'll kind of, I know people won't like it, but kind of angle that way, just because if teams start passing them up. But I don't think it's a bad take, because you're right. I do agree with the Thunder and the Jazz potentially, but we keep saying that they're going to just suck, and they keep winning. So when does it stop for them? I could see your side on this. That's why I'm not going to tee you up. It's a reasonable take, but when will it? I guess the trade deadline, we'll find out.
All it takes is one injury too. I mean, if the trade deadline is coming up pretty soon, so it's not likely that there's going to be any a lot of season-ending injuries between now and the trade deadline. But if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes down, OKC's done. If Luka goes down, Dallas is done. If Markkanen goes down, Utah's done. So
if Dame goes down.
Exactly. Yeah, I keep skirting over that, but you're right. The Blazers are right in that same batch of teams where it's like one injury away from going for the Wembanyama sweepstakes. But yeah, it's fun to watch the Western Conference right now. It's really, other than those top 2 teams, maybe the Kings, shout out the Kings. The rest of the teams are all right in a scrap for the 4th through 13th positions. And as long as the Lakers stay in that bottom spot, I'm cool with watching it go down. No tease from you guys? Appreciate it.
No tease for you. But all right, check out this one and see how this strikes you. So I think that the Dallas Mavericks are getting a little bit desperate to find someone to pair with Luka Doncic. He seems to be really patient so far. And it seems like he wants to stick around and build something with the team. But he is maybe even more than Dame, just like in such a window right now. It's like, who knows how long it's going to last that he's playing at this level. And so I think that they're going to go all in on a big trade. And if not, I'm going to say that it's going to be before this trade deadline. If not, then I think it'll be this offseason. But I think that they're going to try to make it happen before the trade deadline. And so I think that they're going to take a big shot. I think everyone is probably available other than Luka, and I think they might be able to try to make an Ayton trade happen. I think that apparently that's someone that Luka has really wanted to play with for a while. I think that it would completely transform their odds of going far into the playoffs. And I think that they don't have any big assets. But again, I think that the Suns are kind of screwed right now. I'm kind of piggybacking off my first point. I don't think that the Suns organization is healthy right now. I think that they know that they're not going anywhere. Chris Paul is not getting any better. The injuries don't seem to be getting much better, and Ayton doesn't want to be there. So I think that maybe they take a big package, like the package in the crappy video for Dame, but maybe even with more picks than that. And Phoenix does try to build around Devin Booker going forward.
God, imagine the slap in the face for Phoenix fans after watching that Game 7 performance where Luka completely torched them to then trade Ayton to them. Oh my God. I think you're about to get tossed, Riley.
They came together in this, okay.
Here's the team.
You can stick around for a minute if you want while we tell you why you're wrong.
Here's the reason. I think you're right. I think that they will try, but they will fail. You said it exactly why. Dallas has no desirable young players. They don't have desirable older players outside of Luka. They do not have the pieces required to, in my opinion, to get a star next to Luka. It's kind of the same thing we've said about Dame for so long. Now you've got some prospects in Portland, Lewis Simons and Sharp and that kind of level of player, but Dallas doesn't have that. They have first round picks, but if you're giving Luka a superstar teammate, those first round picks are going to be crap. So who are you going to take for your superstar? Dorian Finney-Smith? I mean, that's the headliner guy that would go.
Josh Green, man.
I don't think that that's enough to get a superstar right now for Dallas. And you could be right. They could try to swing it and maybe Ayton, but I don't think that's enough to get a superstar at all. And Ayton may not be a superstar. And yeah, I just don't see it. They're not getting a Siakam level player for Josh Green. It's the same thing we laughed about, what Riley said, the Damian Lillard trade. I just can't see them getting a player of good quality for their assets.
You've roasted their complimentary players around Luka before, and I see why. I mean, outside of Dinwiddie and Christian Wood,
Dinwiddie plays a good game, one out of every 3 games, and Christian Wood one out of every 4. But
I was gonna say they're similar in the ways that some games they look like all-stars, but just not at a consistent level. And I mean, the other night showed what the Dallas Mavericks are to a T, where Luka had 53 and nobody else is in double figures. They have so much limited, such limited pieces around him that I just don't see any avenue for them to really get another superstar. It'd be like saying that for the Blazers to go. I mean, I think there's even more of a path for the Blazers because, like you said, they have a few young pieces now. But yeah, I think there's a few teams out there that just don't really have a shot at, improving their roster. I think Luka kind of knows it too, and he's looking around at the Dallas front office like, what are you going to do to make this easier for me? I can only, I can do so much in the regular season, but then when playoffs roll around and my 2 best, Robins are Dinwiddie and Wood, he's probably going to get sick of that pretty quick, and it's going to be a LeBron in Cleveland for the first stint of his career sort of situation.
I think that's a good comparison. You got Daniel Boobie Gibson for Spencer Dinwiddie. You got Christian Wood for Anderson Varejao. You just nailed it perfectly. So Riley's point, I know Riley's gone now because we ejected him. Whack, get out. But they will try. I don't think they will succeed. I don't think they will acquire a player like that. If they do, you know what? You called it, Riley, but
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
think-
it's probable.
I don't even really see much opportunity for slight upgrades in their roster. Like little, upgrades are going to be tough for them. It's going to be like the Lakers, where they just don't really have a lot of tradable assets on their
They
team.
can
to
ship
get
out
much-
first, and I don't think that the first with Dallas are always that valuable because that Luka is there. I mean, they are, because if one injury happens to Luka, it could be a valuable pick. So depends on how much they're willing to unprotect their picks, but none of their players that they have are ones that you'd go, oh,
Yeah.
that's like a centerpiece in a trade. Like I said, Dorian Finney-Smith's a good player, a good role player, but you're not going to be like, all right, I'm trading my stud for Dorian Finney-Smith.
Yep. Well, what do you guys think is going to be the big blockbuster trade for the NBA this next week? Is there going to be any? Are the Raptors the only team that's going to have any trades available? Or is some team going to freaking send their best player to the Lakers for nothing? Please don't let it happen. Please don't let it happen. Thanks for watching. Riley, get out of here. You got ejected. Get out. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Welcome everybody
to
to
Quick
Quick
I don't know
Tease.
if it's going to work.